Holy City Center Radio. It is episode 121, and I am your host, Christian Sanger. Today is Friday, May 11th, 2023. How we doing, saints and sinners? It is Friday. Happy weekend start to you. I don't have any exciting weekend plans. I was just trying to think. I don't have anything. So Monday was probably going to be boring. No fun stories to relate to y'all. But I hope you have plenty going on. If you need to find exciting plans like I do, just go to holycitycenter.com/events. You can see what's coming up, not just this weekend, but in the days that follow. I also have a dedicated page just for weekend events, just a smaller version of the calendar on my site. But there you should be able to find some incredible things to do in town, whether you want to stay inside or go outside. There's plenty that you can choose from. And like I said, I guess I need to head over there as soon as I can because I have nothing going on. Well, in some ways, for me anyway, this episode is going to be a little strange because there's a few things that I'm waiting on and we're hoping to have more information on today as it relates to the news. But unfortunately, it looks like some things won't be decided possibly until well after I record or, during the day on Friday. And, so there's a couple things I want to be saying on this episode, like, well, as of the recording, because that's just the nature of having to put out a podcast. You need time to get it edited and ready to roll and actually publish. So there could be plenty of things that have changed by the time you hear this episode, but I've tried to get the most up-to-date information for you. So you'll still be learning a lot and know what may be coming around the corner or what could have once you hear what the actual news is, providing you some more context. But yeah, just wanted to let you all know there could be some changes or some of the things I'm talking about could be decided by the time you hear the podcast. First up, the Best of Charleston issue is out. I'm pretty sure. No, it should be out today when you're listening to this podcast. The Charleston City Paper's annual awards issue is out. They held the Best of Charleston party on Wednesday night. Now, normally, the City Paper used to come out on Wednesdays, so it would be the paper came out during the day and the party was that night. However, they've shifted their production schedule so that their new issues are available on newsstands and online on Friday. So this year they had the party without that official announcement beforehand of who had won. Now, at the party, I saw pictures of people who had what looked like the upcoming Best of Charleston issue in their hands. So there may be a few floating out there, but I didn't attend the party this year. Decided to lay low, got lots of work I had to do. And I was a little bummed that I missed out. I saw there's a lot of people that I would have loved to have seen there. And also, it's always a fun time. So I haven't seen the issue yet. So I don't know for sure who's won, if there's any big surprises, or which of my friends or friends, of the podcast at least, if not in real life friends, have won awards. But I will certainly update you all on Monday. I'm sure that episode will have a lot of Best of Charleston talk. I'm not going to get too much into what I won either for a couple reasons. One, I just want to see the issue and see who like the runners up were and who won some of the other categories that I'm in that I didn't win. And the other reason is because how this little behind the scenes on this best of stuff, they try to contact all the winners, like a month or so before the awards come out to let them know if they won any awards. And they'll have different departments that'll reach out to you. They have like a sales team because they want to be like, hey, do you want to buy an advertising space in the best of issue, which is I'm sure their most viewed issue every single year. So they're trying to pitch you to put in like a thank you for voting for me ad, that could be seen by tons of people. So they're always trying to pitch that, of course. But then they may reach out to you like a photographer. They may want to take photos. Every year they pick a handful of the winners to put photos in. I've been in there before. I was in there last year. They also were nice enough to do a little profile-ish, very small little blurb about me and the site and podcast and everything, which was really, really cool that they did that. So they may contact you for that, or maybe they want to write a little extra about you specifically in an award category. And then if you don't get any of those contacts, you'll at least get the contact that, hey, here's your tickets for the party, since you're one of the winners. My point of giving you that background is that you're contacted by multiple people in different departments, and sometimes things get lost in translation or what have you. I've had several times where you're like, "Hey, you've won X amount of awards, or you won this award and this award," and then another department's telling me a different total number of awards, or the award I won is a different one than the other person told me. So I don't know with 100% certainty without seeing the issue or the voting online. um, so I don't know for sure, but what I was told is that Holy City Center this year won best Instagram, first time, if that is true, first time I've ever won that award, which is pretty cool. And the other one was best social media influencer. Technically, the first time I've won that. It's a brand new award, but it seems to have replaced the best local interest blog category. That category disappeared this year, and this seemed to replace it basically. The blog award I had won for 9 straight years, which is incredible. Same with Twitter, which I did not win. I don't think I'm even runner up this year for that. So that 9 year run for both was awesome, and I'm so thankful for that. And I'm going to tell myself this is the same, so I'm going to say 10 straight years. Just sounds better that way. But no, whatever awards I may or may not win in the city paper. I'm always super grateful and thankful that people voted for me, considered me, and it's humbling. And sometimes I don't sit back and think about that enough. That hey, yeah, people do. There are some people who like the different things I do, and I really appreciate you guys. There's days where I'm like, do I need to be doing this and this? Do people even care? And some of you do, and I really really appreciate y'all. And I'll definitely give more details on the categories, give you the for sure information on Monday, and just I'll dive a little bit more into the whole best of issue on Monday. But it appears I've won at least one award. There could be a mistake. Maybe it's not the two I thought. Maybe it's none. Maybe it's more. Maybe it's different types. But it appears I have. So thank you so much. And again, I just really appreciate it. All right, another one story that I was waiting for more details on, and unfortunately just don't have them as of recording. MUSC let their employees know that there had been a third arrest in that garage shooting that took place last Tuesday. They did not give any details of the name of the person or what they're being charged with. And so far, it appears no police report has made it out to the media, and there's been no stories or reporting on it. So hopefully I'll have an update on that as well. But very interesting that a third person was arrested when at the time it felt like maybe only one person was, and now we're up to three. You may remember the first two have both been charged with some kind of attempted murder, and one of them also had charges related to weapons. Now, this third arrest, we don't even know the charges, let alone their name or anything else, but I'll be sure to pass along an update when that comes out. All right, some more stuff that's going to be up in the air, but possibly into next week. And that's a lot of legislative stuff as we're getting towards the end of the session. So let's get into what we do know at this moment of recording. I mentioned in the last episode that this was a possibility, and at first I didn't think it was going to go anywhere, but it sure did. South Carolina Republicans are pushing yet another new abortion restriction, and what is a late attempt to access what was a near total ban that failed last month. So it looked like this bill was dead for the year, but they really are trying to push it through as we try to wrap things up here. A Senate bill that would ban abortion except in the earliest weeks of pregnancy is moving very quickly through the South Carolina House. It is the first sign that Republican leaders may be close to restoring limits that they first passed back in 2021, but was shortly overturned by the state Supreme Court. The effort, though, did clear two hurdles back on Tuesday. Lawmakers advanced the proposal first through a morning subcommittee meeting. There was only 1 hour of public comment, which is pretty normal, and a full committee meeting lasting over 3 hours. It also passed through that. The measure would ban abortion when an ultrasound detects cardiac activity, which is around 6 weeks. And you've heard different versions of this bill before called like the fetal heartbeat bill or something along those lines. But yes, not only are they trying this again, that 6 weeks mark, as we discussed, is before most people even know they're pregnant. So that causes all sorts of issues as far as, you know, how early this is in the process. It does include exceptions for fatal fetal anomaly, rape, incest, and the patient's life and health up to 12 weeks, which, again, the patient's life and health, that's kind of in perpetuity along the pregnancy path. But that 12 weeks part, for rape or incest, we've talked about that before. They would only have that amount of time to come forward to report that their pregnancy is a result of one of those two things. And there's it's not just like, oh, we'll take your word for it either. There's some hoops that people will have to jump through, and as far as they filing an affidavit or filing a police report and things like that. But we'll get way into more of those details if this passes and we learn more about it. But in any event, the measure also says that doctors could face felony charges carrying a $10,000 fine and 2 years of imprisonment for violations. So the House committee voted Tuesday to also insert many other provisions from the chamber's failed near total ban from last week or last month. The bill now outlines specific medical conditions like ectopic pregnancies and miscarriage in a list of exceptions to the ban. It also requires that fathers pay retroactive child support starting at conception, and they also must cover half of all medical expenses. That last part, look, if you're going to pass abortion bans this early, uh, you need to include stuff like that last part. If you're assigning personhood to a fetus or whatever stage of pregnancy, I don't even think it's considered that at 6 weeks. If you're assigning personhood that early, you need to then retroactively do these types of things. Well, child support, etc. So you have to include those. So although my position on this is well known, not so clearly, I'm not happy with the entire measure being pushed through with these with how it's written right now. But I am glad that if they are going to do that, that they're thinking about just more than the ban itself, and they're looking at things like that. So yesterday, Thursday, was supposed to be the final day of the regular session for the South Carolina General Assembly. As I said, they're coming down to the wire. But because of these debates over abortion, but there's also some on guns and bond reform. And, this time of year, it's always a slog to finish up discussions about like the state budget. That it appears that this session is going to go into overtime next week. No big surprise there. For the last 20 years, lawmakers have passed what's called Sine resolution, which ends the regular session on it at its mandated date and time with a set of issues they can return and take up later as they wish. So, for instance, they used this last year in 2022 for abortion, didn't pass, as we know. And then in 2021, it was redistricting that pushed them into this sine die resolution. And again, stuff like state budget, or if the governor vetoes things, they can come back in to try to, handle those with whatever they want to do with those vetoes. So no surprise that this is happening. But again, that leaves a lot up in the air. Some stuff may pass by the time you hear this podcast and be on its way to the governor's desk. Other stuff might not be decided until next week. So certainly something to keep an eye on. This year, the Senate and House couldn't agree on that sine die resolution. So it's actually going to be up to the governor to call the General Assembly back into a special session with no limits on what is discussed. Now, leadership in both chambers has said that Henry McMaster will almost likely do that immediately. So it's fully expected that they will be back next week, despite their session was supposed to be over yesterday. So plenty to talk about next week as we find out what happens with some of these bills, especially the abortion bill. I know a lot of you are interested to see what happens there, and I'll certainly keep you updated. A toxicology report has finally come back and shows that the driver who struck a wedding party traveling in a low-speed vehicle out on Folly Beach last month had a blood alcohol content of 0.261%. That is about 3 times the legal limit. In South Carolina, law prohibits driving a motor vehicle with a blood alcohol content of 0.08% or higher. Jamie Komorowski, who is 25 years old, was arrested and charged with 3 counts of felony DUI with death and or great bodily injury and 1 count of reckless vehicular homicide after striking a low-speed vehicle with her mid-size sedan on the night of April 28th. I'm sure you all are very well aware of this story. but just recapping the details for those who may be out of the loop. The bride, 34-year-old Samantha Miller, became Hutchinson because of the wedding, of course, was killed in the collision. Her new husband, Eric Hutchinson, and two other family members were very seriously injured. We learned this week that Eric is back home and recuperating, but unfortunately also having to go through the difficult task of planning his wife's funeral with her family. So, another quick update on this story. The driver who's alleged, well, now we have her toxicology report, was definitely drunk and over, 3 times the legal limit, according to that. She has retained some attorneys, and that's the latest on this story. So, there's going to be lots more as we get the court case eventually figured out and going through all that. But that's the update on that horrific story out on Folly Beach. Let's jump back into legislation real quick. A South Carolina Senate panel has approved increased penalties for illegal possession of firearms, which is one of Governor Henry McMaster's highest priorities. He let that be known in a press conference following the mass shooting out on Isle of Palms. Now, this measure, where they would increase penalties, like I mentioned, they have attached it to two different bills. One that is expected to pass because it has basic, universal support, whereas the other one is a more controversial bill and less likely to pass. So the Senate Judiciary Committee on May 9th attached the enhanced penalties for illegal firearm possession to a very popular bill that would create the crime of fentanyl trafficking. They voted 15-7 to send it to the Senate floor. It also attached it to another, as I said, much more controversial bill that would allow South Carolinians to carry a firearm without a permit. The panel did vote, but a very close vote of 12-11 to send that package to the floor as well. But with little time left in the legislative session, the fentanyl bill appears much more likely to make it to the governor's desk, as that permitless carry bill has a lot more opposition and recently missed a deadline for the House to take it up. However, as I mentioned, or just a little bit earlier in the podcast, Henry McMaster is expected to call the legislature back in session next week. So that could change the permitless carry bill that may get brought back up. We really just don't know what's going to happen in this, this extra session. But regardless, that increased penalties it will pass at least in one bill, so that you can expect that and more details once that's official. Couple more pieces of legislation. Like I said, this is that time of year where things are just happening quickly. The House voted on Tuesday to increase the raises it wants to give to nearly every state employee. So they already had raises in mind. They've increased it after they got word of the state having more money available than they thought that it was going to. This new $13 billion budget passed 105-12 by the House, and it matches the raises proposed last month by the Senate. If the spending plan for this fiscal year of 2023-2024 is approved by the governor, state workers who make less than $50,000 a year would get a $2,500 bump in pay, while employees would get a 5% raise if they make more than $50,000. More good news from the legislature as opposed to some of the not so great news we've talked about previously. So I thought we like state employees getting more money. That last story was good. And now this one is good. A bill that would guarantee paid parental leave for public school teachers in South Carolina when they welcome a new child via birth, adoption, or fostering will soon be on the governor's desk. House members voted on Wednesday to agree with changes that senators made to the bill, H3098, last week. This means the bill now has been passed by both the House and Senate, and as I mentioned, it's off to Governor McMaster. If he signs that, it would make South Carolina the first state in the Southeast to guarantee public school employees statewide, including teachers, that they receive paid leave when they welcome a new child. That'll do it for this episode of Holy City Center Radio. Kind of a mixed bag today. Some good stuff, some not so good stuff, and a lot is up in the air. But yes, it appears that we'll be heading for an extra session for the legislature. So there's a lot of bills that maybe seem dead or close to it, may be revived and end up getting passed. Some that we're not sure of will now have more of a chance to get passed. We'll find out what exactly is going to happen, and I'll be sure to share all those details with you. on if it's the next episode or whichever one next week. Yes, we can expect a lot of news over the from today and all the way till next Friday, I'm sure, as far as the legislature is concerned. As I mentioned on Monday, I'll also provide whatever updates I have on Best of Charleston and all that good stuff. I'm already looking forward to coming back and recording another episode. I so appreciate all of you who listen and support the show, the website, and anything else I do with Holy City Sinner. If you want to continue to help, you can rate, review, like, subscribe, all that good stuff on the streaming platform you're listening to this podcast on. You can also go to holycitycenter.com/shop to pick up some merchandise, or go to patreon.com/holycitycenter to sign up for one of the tiers. This past, I think, week, I was able to send out some promo codes for discounts on tickets or pre-sale tickets and things like that for people who are Patreon subscribers. So that's just one of the little goodies you can get if you subscribe. Those kinds of things I don't share publicly on Twitter or Facebook or on the website. It's only on Patreon, so you might be missing out. Go sign up. Big thank you to Lindsay Marie Collins of LMC Sound System, who produced this in every episode of Holy City Center Radio, and also Tyler Boone, whose music you hear in each and every episode as well. Hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Remember, go to holycitycenter.com/events if you're looking for things to do this weekend. I can't wait to talk to you on Monday. You all are the best podcast audience in all of Charleston. That is my Best of Charleston award for you. If only it existed. But congratulations, I'm giving it to you anyway. I can't wait to talk to you, like I said, on Monday. So until then, good night and good luck.